email came out promising me that I would see roof jacking. That's not stealing a roof, is it? When you're promising roof jacking and free bagels, it's over. It's over. So where are the bagels?
Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof.
The project here is to do some structural repair on the sanctuary building. As you can see, there's a problem with the roof, which is the result of a leak that came from a repair that was done to the roof years ago, I guess, when there used to be a steeple on the building.
The game's over.
Well, the problem has been that the water leaks have deteriorated timber trusses going back to the turn of the 20th century.
And the time has come to feel the real bass.
What is being done here is probably a little bit unusual because it is a complete timber construction. Many of the older churches in Troy are more of a masonry nature. But what they're basically going to do is lift up the end of the truss 1 inch or 2 inches, enough to try to put it back into its original position. And then once it's held at that position, they'll come in and put a permanent post behind it to hold it at that level.
Okay, we've been given the warning to stay away from that area there. Okay, here we go.
Make some noise.
I got an email that said, you're gonna lift the roof and fix the joists. And I've lived in Troy now 40 years. I don't really like architecture. I really like old buildings, and I've seen buildings fall. And I also have an old building of my own that's in total need of renovation. So I want to see what's going on here.
Yeah, you're not going to see much. It's going to be anticlimactic. But if you have sound, you may hear something. That may be the most interesting part of it. The truss is going to go up and approach where it was originally. It's not going to go back all the way, probably, because of the memory in the truss and the memory in the building materials. But it will increase some, it will raise some, and we'll also pull the walls in. That's what this cable is doing here. We've already tightened it up and pulled the walls in 3/4 of an inch this morning.
In the process, the cable might be tightened a little bit more to try to pull the back wall in.
Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof.
At this end of the building, the wall is actually bowed outward. It's already been pulled in about 3/4 of an inch or an inch already, and it might be pulled in just a little bit more to help realign it before the siding is then reattached to the repair work on the inside.
These are hard to replace, and at today's prices and today's labor costs, it's a shame to tear down a perfectly good building just because of one rotted truss or one rotted beam, one post. You know, big business going and just tearing places down and building new. I've seen places that were only 10, 15, 20 years old that they're tearing down, and it's worse when you see something, you know, 100 years old, a building 100 years old that's perfectly sound, might have a few structural problems. It's, you know, it's rewarding to be able to fix them up. It's a challenge, but it gives you a break away from the ordinary.
Raise the roof. Raise the roof. Raise the roof.
It's the keeping of a building together, the paying attention to its structural needs. The lack, you know, this is not a superficial repair. This is an essential thing. It's like giving somebody a hip replacement, even though they're already, you know, 70. This building has a lot of vitality, a lot of new uses, and it's going to stay here. Keep putting it back together. It's an essential green movement.
It's not just Troy, it's all across the country. There are many churches which have either been repurposed in some way. The churches cannot maintain the facilities any longer and they're being put to a second use. Those are usually the ones that are dealing with problems.
Infrastructure is obviously important because we need a place to work, and this is our home. It's really one of the few places in the country where there's an independent media center that has access to the kind of resources that we have here. Foremost among them, space to work, and it's this beautiful high-ceiling building that's really perfect for us. If we were going to spec out a new building, which we couldn't afford, it would have a lot of the very same features that this church has. High ceilings, nice intimate space, room for studios downstairs, community-based, a lot of great things about it. The original purposes for these buildings might have disappeared as the population evolves into different directions and moves around. The buildings are still here, and they're really a monument to the hard work and dedication of folks in Troy area, and represents the wealth that was created during the time that Troy was a thriving city. So it's great to be able to preserve some of that architecture, preserve that history, preserve really, when you think about it, the creative energy of so many of the people here in Troy who came before us. That's what these buildings represent.
You have the history of the people who lived there, and it's expressed through the trees that have grown up and the side porches that were added on. And here in Troy, you can feel all the people who've lived here over the years.
You are raised not only by community, but your physical spaces. And our culture has an obsession with newness and with erasing history. And I think there are deep psychic traumas, not only in not preserving stories and passing along these traditions, but destroying those physical spaces.
When you come into this church, you really feel like you belong to a place.
Up on the roof. Up on the roof.
We're really happy to be here, and we're happy that we've had the support of so many people to make it possible for us to get here and to stay here. TAP, Joe Fama especially, has been a huge supporter of ours and has really shown us the way since the moment we were thinking about moving in here, and then when we bought the building, and now through the repair. They're a steadying influence in an older city with diminishing resources, trying to figure out ways to do adaptive reuse of existing buildings and a lot of the historical architecture that we have here in the city.
3/4 of an inch, Andy.
That's what I got here.
TAP is a great community resource. In a certain way, it's the architectural equivalent of what we're doing with media. They're helping people understand architecture and learn how to make the best of what they have, do hands-on work with existing resources, and to do it in a community context where the people who benefit from the work are the people who live in the community. It's not something that you do for money, it's something you do for love, and we really appreciate TAP's support doing that. We also should thank the folks at the Howard and Bush Foundation who've been so supportive of so many different people in Troy and Rensselaer County. They're helping us fund the roof repair work. Also, the New York State Council on the Arts has provided a matching grant. And a lot of folks who are our supporters, just regular people who value the kind of work that we do, have been helping us match the grant as well. It really wouldn't be fair to list all of the people who've been supporting us without mentioning Wayne, who we call St. Wayne. Wayne Foy has been a community volunteer, actually from the neighborhood, who's put an incredible amount of work into all aspects of the building project. He was the guy who helped organize this roof project where we got the bids and did some of the basic research, which made it possible to write the grants and get the funding and support to make this actually come to fruition after years of trying. So it's been a very broad-based community project with a lot of support from all areas, and we're very, very grateful for it.
This idea of bearing witness, which is also funny that it's in a historically spiritual space, but I think it's essential that you have artists and media makers bearing witness to the lives and the stories of Troy now as a connection to preserving its history.
The history, the character, the intangible quality, the feeling that it's been there forever and it represents the past and helps keep a perspective of where we've been and where we're going. It tied together the community to a certain degree.
The jacking is all over.
It's hard to describe. There's an intangible quality to historic buildings. This building is worthy.